Welcome to the Daily Dyslexic. We are going to be interviewing my great Grandpa Vern because it's Veterans Day. Yes, and he's a veteran. Okay. What branch of the military were you in?
I was in the United States Navy.
Were you drafted?
No, I was a volunteer. I went in of my own accord.
Were you happy or sad to go?
I was happy to go because I was a fruit tramp and I didn't want to be poor and a fruit tramp no more. So I wanted to learn something and I thought the Navy was the best place to go.
What ship did you serve on?
I served on a destroyer, the USS Agerholm, DD 826. Oh, it was actually a smaller ship in the Navy. They were designed to be fast, so they were lightweight.
How long were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy for a total of 4 years. I went in first before the Korean War and was part of the troops that occupied Japan after World War II. And then when the Korean War started, I was in the entire Korean War.
Did that time go by fast or slow?
Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. When you're doing exciting things in battle, it seemed like it would go fast, but when you were waiting for mail, it seemed to go slow because we didn't have cell phones, and sometimes you had to wait a month to get your mail.
Now that is funny, right there. Which war did you serve in?
I served in the Korean War when the North Korea and China invaded South Korea, and I was in the occupation forces in Japan, so we were some of the first forces that went into Japan simply because we were the closest.
What were your jobs on the ship?
My job on the ship, I was a boilerman. A boilerman makes the steam that runs the ship. In other words, we make the steam, it goes into the engine room and turns the turbine, which turns the propeller, which pushes the ship along in the water.
So you are the reason that the ship was running, basically.
Everybody, it takes everybody to run the ship.
Okay. Did you like those jobs?
I thought it was okay. Hadn't never done any other job, so it was fine. I learned to work on machinery and do stuff I'd never done before.
Did you have to wear special clothes?
No, we just wear a pair of Levi's and a shirt. Sometimes we didn't even wear a shirt. It was hot in the boiler room where I worked. Sometimes you didn't wear a shirt. But the pants we had were just like Levi's, like you wear around home.
That is very interesting. Did you carry a gun?
No, the guns we had weighed several tons. You couldn't carry them. But I did handle the ammunition that went into the guns, and the ammunition that I handled, the part I handled weighed 54 pounds, and that's the part that went through the air after you shot it. It's called a projectile.
What was your favorite thing to do on the ship?
I don't know for sure. We just mostly when we were in the fire room, we would be down between the boilers just talking to each other and stuff like that. There was not much to do if unless you had uh, a pump or something to fix and keep the place clean. We didn't do much else. I did part time. We didn't have cameras that took color pictures, so I bought some paint and I would color pictures that Mom would send me from home.
When you visited another place, what was your favorite place to see?
Well, before the Korean War, we went to quite a few places. I got to go to Singapore and see the botanic gardens, the same ones that President Trump and the leader of North Korea went to see. I got to see those. I seen a skeleton of a brontosaurus all put together in Singapore. In Manila, it a lot of the places I went to were still shot and all blown up from World War II, so there was a lot of stuff hadn't been fixed yet. A lot of the buildings had big bullet holes in them and things like that.
So when you were doing this, you were in World War II. Basically, it was after World War II.
Yes, after World War, between World War II and Korea.
What was it like in Korea?
You know, it's hard for me to tell because the only part of Korea I saw was stuff that we were shooting at. We were shooting stuff and blowing stuff up all the way around the whole peninsula of Korea, so I never got to see what it was like on as far as visiting anywhere. All we did is went around different places and shooting at stuff like railroad bridges and trestles and uh, ammunition places or highways, anything we could do to disrupt transportation.
Did you ever shoot a fireworks store?
I don't know. We when we would shoot, it would go over maybe 15 or 20 miles. We might see something blow up, but we didn't know what it was. There were airplanes overhead called spotter planes, and they would tell us if we missed and we needed to shoot a little closer or a little further, and they would tell us where to shoot if we missed our target. But we would sometimes see what we called a secondary explosion. What that means is if we hit say an ammunition dump, we'd see it blow up.
What was the weather like there?
We had warm in the summer and we had snowstorms. I was in a blizzard out in the ocean one time when it was snowing so hard you couldn't hardly see it in front of the ship. So we had snowstorms in the winter, and that's the way it was in Korea. We had quite a bit of snow in the winter, cold weather, and warm weather in the summer.
Did you get to visit home at all?
Visit what?
Home at all? Well,
Home?
you were in the Navy.
Yeah, I could go. If we were in Korea after maybe 9 months or so, ever so, we might have to come back to the United States to get repairs. And while we were here, we could come home on leave. And so I could come home depends on how long, if I had time, I might get a 2 week leave, or maybe I just had time for a few days. But every time we come back, I could usually get a few days to come home.
Mhm. What was the what was the scariest thing that happened?
The scariest, I guess the scariest is when you get shot at. We was operating with the USS Missouri, and they sent us as a small ship. They sent us close to shore to draw enemy fire. Then the Missouri would shoot the guns that shot at us. But we went in close to the shore, particularly to draw fire from the enemy.
Did you ever get shot?
Did I get shot? No. When we would get close to the shore, they would announce it on the PA system for all hands to stay below deck because we was in rifle range of the shore.
Did the ship get shot?
One time we took a hit on the after deck, but it was an area where nobody was out, so nobody got hurt.
What was the coolest thing that happened?
I think the coolest thing in the Navy was before the Korean War started, when we used to travel all around the Pacific, and I got to see Manila, Hong Kong, Singapore, all around Japan, Pearl Harbor, Guam, all of those places we got to visit. And I was at Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and Guadalcanal, places that I'd heard about in World War II. We got to see those places. So that was pretty cool to be able to see all those places I'd just heard about before.
One of my friends actually just went to Hong Kong.
That was taken in Hong Kong.
So which one? Do you know which one he is?
He's going
I'm the only one touching that round thing.
I see him.
I see him.
Which one? Yep.
Okay. Did you have a best friend or friends there?
Yeah, you're always close friends with the people that work with you. So my best friends were those other guys that were in the boiler room. But I had other friends that were in the engine room, and some that worked as cooks, and you always had a few friends all around the ship. But my best friends were the ones I worked with every day.
How was the food?
The food was great, I thought. Uh, some guys didn't like it, but it always seemed like real good food to me. I was real happy with the food. You'd have mashed potatoes and gravy. Sometimes we'd have for breakfast they called it was chipped beef made with a gravy, and you could put it on toast or something. We had oatmeal. Um, the worst time was when we got in Korea and we couldn't pick up supplies, and our bread got weevils in the flour. And at first you try to pick the weevils out, but pretty soon there's so many weevils you can't get them, so you just start eating the weevils and all. Weevil is a bug that gets in your flour. It's kind of like when you eat your bread, you get a sandwich.
How big was your room? Did you have to share a room?
My room was about, let me think a minute, maybe 60 feet by 40 feet, and I shared it with probably close to 200 guys.
200?
Yeah, maybe not that many, maybe 150.
How tall were the bunk? How many high were the bunks?
3 high.
Wow.
I think I've only seen one 3-high bunk.
Did it stink?
No, you had to. You didn't. You every month you had a certain day that your compartment had to take their mattress and take it up and hang it over the bed. They called it airing out your bedding, and it had to air out your bedding, and you had to put your sheets and all pillowcase, all that stuff went into the washing once a week. So it was kept pretty clean. There was no smell like body smell or anything in the compartment.
Do you remember how much money you made each day or month?
Yes, I remember it very well, but you ain't hardly going to believe it.
How much?
When I went on board ship, I made $87.50 a month.
87?
87.50.
That's about not quite $3 a day.
Yeah.
That is not very good payment. For what you did.
Huh?
For what you did, that was not very good payment.
Well, that's because stuff didn't cost as much back then as it does now. That's why I gave you a cost. You remember a little while back I gave you a cost of living increase?
Yes.
That's why, because prices go up.
Let's see. Were you the only one of your siblings to be in the military?
No, I had my two older brothers. My older brother stayed in for 20 years and retired, and my next oldest brother was in the same as me for 4 years. But he didn't get to travel around like I did. He was down on a little island in the South Pacific called Kwajalein, and he spent his whole time there on that little island.
Were they both in the Navy?
They were both in the Navy. Probably that's the reason I joined the Navy.
Only your two brothers?
Well, just my two brothers. My dad was in. This wasn't really the military, but President Franklin Roosevelt started to get out of the Depression. He started what they called the CCCs. That's Civilian Conservation Corps, and they had uniforms, but they go around building different highways and things in the United States, and the government would pay them a little bit, but they had to send most of their money home every month. But that wasn't really the military. It was a program that the president started to get us out of the Depression.
Would you have done anything differently?
Probably not, because I didn't go to high school, so I didn't have no education. And all I was trying to do was get away from fruit tramping and being poor. And that was the best place I know to do it. I didn't know what to do. It just happened to be that's what I did. I didn't plan anything.
Can you talk about what fruit tramping is?
Fruit tramping means that what we did when I was a boy was traveled up and down the West Coast picking all kinds of fruit and vegetables and hops and walnuts and everything, and we lived in a tent all that time, and it was always cold. We didn't have no heater, and I was just tired of being pouring cold. That it's what they call now migratory workers, except we had a like if you ever watch the movie The Grapes of Wrath, that's the way we traveled.
Did you have multiple tents or just one?
Multiple what?
Tents.
We had one little tent. It was only about 8 by 12.
And how many of you?
6 kids, my mom and dad. And we would just sleep in the car or wherever we could.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, you pretty well covered it. Like I say, what we did when we fruit tramped was pretty simple. And I went in the Navy and I learned an awful lot. And now that I'm out of the Navy and old, it's really good because the Veterans Administration takes real good care of me. They give me hospital benefits, and they pay my hospital and medicine and all that stuff is free for me. I don't have to pay for anything.
This isn't on the paper, but how many brothers did you have?
I had 4 brothers and 2 sisters.
Is there anything in this book that you would like to show us?
I don't know. I don't remember what all's in there.
Well, let's see.
I was probably on that when that picture was taken. There's the guns. That's why we couldn't carry it around. See that gun?
Mm-hmm.
There's another one just like this in the back, and that's the one that I used to work on when I first went in the Navy.
Is this one of the pictures you colored?
No, those are, I don't know where they come from, don't remember.
I printed those.
Oh, this one looks like it's painted.
Yeah, I colored it because it was messed up.
If somebody wants to see
That was
this.
another ship.
That's another picture of my ship. That was one of my best friends. This guy lived right over here, just a few miles from where I live. Let me see that. National Defense, United Nations, Korean Service. These are medals that they gave us. It was more than that. Yeah, there's the China. They quit giving this medal out right after we got it. The reason being that the communists took over China and the American ships couldn't go in there no more.
What's the small one?
This is a medal for helping occupy Japan. That's just a little button that shows that I got an honorable discharge. This is a plan of the day that comes out every day, and it just tells how we celebrated May Day and Communist May Day. We fired, set several fires on the mainland in Korea, and we hit spots on railroads and the main highway, and all these were verified by AirSpot. That means the airplanes overhead verified that we did that. We're in an invasion, and this is just tells that we got a well done from the Far East Naval Command. This is just a certificate saying that I crossed the equator.
That's cool.
Retro.
That's part of the same thing.
It's retro. See you in the next video.